Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to Friday Feature, the second one that we have done. Just want to apologize real quick about last week. Some serious technical difficulties, but it is what it is. We did make it, however, we were there about an hour late. I am going to go ahead and add Stephanie here, or try and add her at least. Send invite, approve. Okay. Hey, Steph.
Hi.
Going.
Hello. Good. How are you?
Doing well. We did it this time.
Yay. Thank you. Yeah, I heard you kind of get started. Thank you for everyone um, being like so patient and getting started with us. That was our first time. So yeah, we're looking forward to having our second Friday feature. You guys probably missed last week. For those of you who were around, thank you so much. We sent out a follow-up email with all of the highlights that you can quickly read through with some of the questions we went over. We also posted the recording on our YouTube page. You can check it out there, just at Cordant Winery. We went over this wine here, the 2021 Syrah by the Coast View Vineyard. It's a vineyard designate. If you guys have any questions about it or want to know more, feel free to shoot us a note, DM us, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Send us an email. We're happy to go over that with you guys, anything that you want to go over since we missed last week. But thank you for being here this week. This week we're going to get started with our 2021 Maniacal. We sent the email out about it. We're really excited for this wine. Riker's going to get into it. It's a GSM, so Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre, Mourvedre, probably not the last one, but however you say it. It's that type of blend, so that's what we're going to be getting into here in a moment. Riker, how's it going over at the winery? You're over at our tasting room?
Yeah, let's see, we got a rainstorm coming in randomly in mid-April, which is, not an often occurrence, but I was just out in some vineyards yesterday. Everything looks good. We had a bit of some frost kind of blow in last weekend, so a couple things got hit a little bit, but it looks like for the most part, everything's all right. But yeah, hey, more rain. I am not complaining about that. After, it seems like 10 years of a drought, we're finally, things here are still green and beautiful. And then in terms of the winery, I'm actually blending 2023 Maniacal right now.
Oh, cool.
And so that was in tank. So I actually just was tasting it prior to me tasting the 21. So kind of fun to see the, couple vintages apart and the direction we're moving in with that.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, we're excited to get started.
Yeah.
So let's see. I've got the wine here. Did I share the label already? This is the wine that we're going to be drinking. This is the 2021 Maniacal. You can find it on our website. Again, this was part. What?
We just released this one as well.
Yeah.
For you. So, yeah.
It's part of the spring shipment. So for people who are in our wine club, you got this. So if you have it already, or if you're picking it up at our pickup party, you'll be able to get back to this video and open it up and drink it while we talk about it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I got to capitalize on my time, people. I've got 2 little boys at home. I'm single parenting it right now. My husband is military. He's deployed. So I'm on my own. And so when my 3.5-year-old and my 2-year-old are sleeping, it's nap time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a tiny little bit and let's talk about wine. Okay, so while I'm opening this, last week we kicked it off with the Kossu Syrah, and we talked about, you mentioned the cuvee versus a terroir series. So if you want to quickly recap the cuvee terroir, since everyone missed it, and then like which wine does this one fall into specifically?
Totally. So, for those that did miss it, the Cordant brand is basically split into Pinot Noir and Rhônes, and then within that we also have a cuvee series, which cuvee in French means blend. So we have a blended series, and then terroir series, which terroir roughly translates to somewhereness. So we tend to do single vineyard, single varietals on the terroir series. Kossu Syrah, the one we had last week, that was a terroir series wine. This Maniacal is a cuvee series wine. It's a blend. So Stephanie mentioned the blend is a GSM or Syrah. It's a pretty standard blend that people would put together here in Paso Robles. However, we once again with all of our blends are going as far north as Monterey and as far south as Santa Barbara in order to source all of our fruit. This is kind of what makes Cordant pretty unique. There is a fair bit of Paso Robles fruit in this, and we'll talk about the Rolf Vineyard, which was also a little feature that we did earlier the week. That's a West Side Paso vineyard. However, the Syrah, for example, is coming from a couple other cooler climate vineyards up in Monterey County and some other things. So that's kind of the idea behind this wine. I am just a huge fan of Grenache in general, especially Grenache from Paso. The grape itself, looks like we lost Stephanie. I'm going to go ahead and try and add her back on. So anyways, Grenache is a grape varietal that does tremendously well in a very hot, dry climate. Paso Robles is really hot and dry. For a couple of reasons. The first being is that the clusters themselves are really big, and the grapes themselves have really thick skins and a lot of juice. The berries are quite large. So you can imagine when a heat spell comes in and we have thicker skins with more juice. The grapes themselves are not prone to a lot of raisination, so there's not a lot of desiccation on the vine. It's kind of mid-ripening in terms of when it comes in. It's around October for us. And we're able to get a lot of these kind of red fruit, floral aromas, a lot of texture in the wine as well. There's tons of tannin. However, we do lack some color sometimes. So hence why we would bring Syrah and Mourvedre in. Sorry, Stephanie, I'm going to try and bring her back on. I'm going to send her a little invite. Says adding. And
Okay, sorry.
No worries. So in terms of the Syrah in this wine, like I mentioned, it's coming a little bit from the west side of Paso as well. However, we're also blending some vineyards such as Mesa del Sol, which is in Santa Lucia Highlands, and a little bit of Coast View Syrah into the wine, which we tasted last week.
So that's cool. So some of the wine that we tasted last week is then in this wine.
Yeah, a portion of the Syrah component comes from that vineyard. So if you have that coast view and you taste that coast view, and then you taste the Maniacal next to it, look for kind of some similarities in terms of the aromatics. You'll get that kind of black pepper, blue fruit kind of plum type thing going on.
Great. Okay, awesome. So back to my quick question, because you already have it poured. I do not. Once again, I'm not a wine connoisseur with all the glasses. I know you're not like the glass expert, but I've got my set and I quickly wanted to find out which glass should I be pouring it in. So I have 3 different types. I've got, this is more of like last week we did the Syrah in this one because it was supposed to be narrow and into the nose. This is the wider version of it. Then I have a kind of more of like your classic wine. One's the short and one's the tall. I don't really know if you can see the difference in the type. Okay. And then you guys, I'm fancy. I love my fancy bulb glass. And so this is always the one that I go to. So I know it's not always correct. And I think you said maybe this was good for Pinot. I'm not sure. But so out of the collection,
Yeah.
which would you recommend for this particular wine?
So it can kind of sit in one of two, and I'll let you pick. I probably know which one you're going to go with. So I would say it can be poured in the same one that we used last week, that kind of more narrow upright glass. That's what basically.
Bigger one. Okay.
Yep.
It's so funny because I always think wine, you know, red is in the wider and white is in the smaller.
Yeah, that's just me. Everyone's different. That being said, they often say Grenache is the Pinot Noir of the Rhone. It is lighter in color. It is really aromatic. It's really fresh. It has a little bit more tannin than you get in Pinot Noir. And so for that reason, sometimes I like to use the big kind of bulbous one.
This one? Yeah! Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pour it. Awesome. I'm super excited about this.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about, you guys, look how beautiful that color is. Wow. Okay, so how is this different from, well, we'll get into the Syrah later. I want to be mindful of our time for everyone. This is a beautiful color. The Syrah last week was very dark in color. I still see some of that in here, yep. But when it's down, it's more like see-through.
Yes.
So that you can see it has some of that Syrah color that you talked about with the thicker skins in it, but it's lighter in color.
Correct. And that is the Grenache. The Grenache doesn't quite have the color that you get in Syrah. We're blending a lot of Syrah for color, among other things. But what I like to try and see is when you start to move into these Cuvée series wines. I mean, these are there you go. These are really kind of our personal expression of Grenache from the Central Coast, Syrah from the Central Coast, Mourvedre from the Central Coast. This is sort of our opportunity to kind of say, hey, in the perfect world, like what is our perfect Grenache in any given vintage or however we want to do it. And for me, the blending process is almost exclusively focused on texture more than aromatics and flavor. And by texture, I mean, how does it feel in the palate? And so it's kind of fun to taste like Coast View Syrah next to Maniacal because you'll notice a big difference in the texture.
Should I do that?
Sure.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open this while you do that. You guys, I have these open. So like, obviously I'm a single mom right now at home. I'm not going to drink 2 bottles of wine tonight. So even like a bottle, right? It depends on the day. It is Friday night. Like, will these be good for a couple days if I just, okay, great. So I can open it and worry.
Stick them in the refrigerator even.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because oxidation in a wine is a chemical process. If you cool something down, the chemical process slows down.
Oh,
The cooler it is, the slower that process will be. The wine will last a little bit longer.
Great, yes, because I could drink a whole bottle of wine, but then I won't be functional in the morning, and we have soccer practice. Okay, so as I open this, can you tell me a little bit about the Maniacal, like the name?
Yep.
It's funny name people whenever.
Well,
Maniac. What?
Yeah. Here's the difference, because I've only ever heard Evan talk about it, and Evan's watching the video right now, and he's commenting. Evan, go ahead and comment the story of Maniacal, and then I'm going to tell my version of it through Evan, and then I'll read what Evan writes.
Awesome.
So Maniacal is, to your point, kind of a maniac, and like when you're down in the cellar and you're kind of looking at how we're blending, it is controlled chaos. I mean, I exception sometimes because in order to get the perfect texture and perfect color, a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm taking 3 different vineyards of Grenache and putting them all up into a tank, and then I'm taking 4 vineyards of Syrah and pouring a portion of each one into a tank, and then the rest into the same tank. Then I'm transferring that one tank, a portion of that, into this tank, and then I'm putting more Mourvedre in after that.
Wow.
So it's this kind of a thing. And yeah, there's hoses all over the place, and it's total chaos. I've got it all in my head, so
We're good.
we're good. Uh, but but I think what Evan always says is that it takes a real maniac to kind of like be able to put that all together. Okay, he just commented. I'm going to read it. In the past, they called Bedlam or the methods. He wrote a bunch of stuff regarding other wines. Let me see.
In the live chat, so they can also look at it there.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So he said, we only want maniacs to make the wine. That's his favorite. Also a maniac, and I have long hair, I guess. So anyways, that's kind of the story of the wine.
Cool. Well, I brought open. Can I pour it?
Yeah. Go ahead and pour it. And I want you to talk about, again, not the flavors and the smells, but tell me how it feels.
Okay, so if you guys can see this one a little bit better, it's much
Darker.
Color.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you can see through it.
Yep.
When I look down at it. It might be hard to tell online.
You can kind of see it. So that Syrah in your right hand.
Purple.
Purple, exactly.
Yeah, so that's how I know if it's more purple, there's some sort of Syrah in it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep. That's a good indicator. Yeah.
Okay.
And so to that point as well, while you're taking a sip real quick on this, in the 23s, for example, we've actually taken a step. We've actually gone even further in terms of the complexity of the blending process. We are actually co-fermenting some Grenache with Syrah, and then also some Grenache with Petite Syrah, which is kind of a newer one. These two, as she just pointed out, have tons and tons of color. So what we'll do is we'll pick Grenache and then maybe 5 to 10% Syrah. It all goes into one ferment. So Grenache from the start is going to pick up the color that the Syrah has in it.
Okay.
It's Grenache, but we just have enough color from that Syrah in the co-ferment to bind up some of the tannins. So when you taste that Syrah, what texture do you get?
Yeah, it's like drier.
Yep.
Right? Like we talked about last week, like the more the tannins, it's like
but it
like I put it on my tongue.
Yeah, but it also has more width in the wine.
Okay.
Or volume. It tends to be, you can also look at it in terms of like the initial flavor, the mid palate, and then right as you swallow, the finish.
Definitely more plush.
Yes.
In the Syrah. Yes.
So when Grenache will be
like I still have some of that tannin, like a little bit of that, but it's not as full.
Totally.
Okay.
So what we'll do is the Syrah brings that plushness. It's not plush as the Coast View, but if I can start to incorporate it during fermentation and co-fermenting, you can get plushness in the Grenache. And so from there, now I have a barrel of wine that's 90% Grenache, 10% Syrah.
Okay.
That Grenache component for Maniacal, and then we blend even more Syrah in, and then more Vedra after. And it's okay. So now we're at a different level of complexity.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Can you this bottle here, you guys, the Maniacal, for the 2021, it's 50% Grenache, 26% Syrah, and 24% Mourvedre. You can see it here. So the Grenache is the base.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit, like, what am I supposed to be looking for? I think you said, did we cover this already? You said something like it's going to be kind of like the Syrah, peppery.
Yeah, a little bit. So it will tend to be a little bit more red fruit. That Syrah tends to be more blue and black fruit.
Okay, and the red,
or like cherries, raspberries, strawberry.
Okay.
Black fruit is like blackberry, boysen, plum, cassis, things like that.
Getting it. So when you write taste notes, it's kind of like, oh, the color, it's almost like when you pick up a strawberry, you're like,
yes. Yeah.
So interesting. Okay.
Yeah. We also talk about some other things. So like in the sommelier world, they'll then qualify what fruit condition it is. So it could be an underripe red, a ripe red, or an overripe red.
And that depends on when you pick it, right?
Kind of, yeah. So like I won't go into all the tasting notes because it honestly it's all different for everybody, and it's kind of like learning a new language. We use it mostly to like identify wines in a blind tasting where, you know, I say, oh, every time I taste Syrah, I taste blueberry. You might taste plum. We're talking about the same flavor, we just have a different word for it. But if you plum, you know it's probably a Syrah kind of a thing. So like that's how we use that. So with Grenache, they tend to be more red fruit driven. Syrahs tend to be more of that blue and black. Now you put them together, and now you have red, blue, and black.
Got it.
So that's complexity, right? Um, Grenache is also really known, especially in Paso Robles, for being having a real kind of spice component. So look at for like almost like nutmeg, or people say like cola, Dr. Pepper sometimes. Like I get those sort of characteristics sometimes. Uh, it's not coming from barrel. Remember, this wine in particular doesn't see any new oak. It's all neutral. So yeah, so the barrels have been used before.
Okay.
And so all the flavor in the barrel's been used in previous vintages. The barrels are still good, so they don't impart any flavor. It's just a vessel to age in.
And you do that on purpose?
On purpose, yeah, because I like the purity of of everything that's going on in I don't feel like we need any new oak on it. So
got it. Okay. Versus the Syrah, is that in any new oak?
it does have a touch. Yep. Syrah is like Cabernet. You'll also find that different varietals can handle new oak in a different way. Cabernet can handle a lot of new oak, and it's still very true to the varietal. Syrah can handle a decent amount. It's true. Pinot Noir, surprisingly, can handle a lot of new oak, and it's still pretty true to the varietal. Grenache, you tend to really taste the barrel, and it's a little less about the fruit at that point. We try not to.
When you say that it's true to the varietal, that means you're not like the grapes aren't soaking in flavor from the oak.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So those particular grapes stay true to their varietal so they can handle the new oak and not absorb as much, right? Maybe not as like porous, so to speak.
Yeah.
But then the other type of grape that you said,
yeah.
The Grenache,
yeah.
is basically would soak in more of that. And so you would have that in the taste.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I want to talk to a little bit about Mourvedre as well, just because we haven't touched on it yet.
And a lot of people don't know it. I personally also didn't know it.
Yeah.
Kind of don't. I didn't even know it was a grape. And when people ask, I'm like, actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most mysterious of the wines for me. Probably for a lot of people, they don't think of, you think of your Pinots or, your Cabs, but no one's like, Mourvedre. So.
Yeah. So Mourvedre is it's originally from south of France as well. All three of these varietals are grown in the Rhone Valley, particularly the southern Rhone.
Oh, okay. So you call this, we use our cuvée and terroir, which is French words, and then we're in the south of France with this wine. Good. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that's very much the inspiration for the wines. So Mourvedre is a little smaller berried than Grenache sometimes. It's really late ripening. And so in a warm climate like Paso, it does tremendously well because we get so much heat. Things like Syrah that ripen early can also get too ripe too quickly.
Ripe early in the season.
Yeah.
Like
so
spring?
No, September.
Oh, okay.
Everything's done in the fall. Early would be September, mid would be about October, and then late would be late October into early November.
Got it. Okay, so we're in this September time frame.
About 3 months is when we harvest everything. So Mourvedre tends to come in the late. We're actually able to get it ripe, whereas if you plant it in a cooler area, you may not get the sugars to the level you need to pick for wine. You end up with a wine that's 11% or 10% alcohol, and that's not enough to really get like the full flavors. So it does well with that. Mourvedre, it depends again how you pick it, but we tend to pick it a little bit on the riper side because what it gives you is like pure mid palate, like
Mid palate, like
really kind of round fruits right in the center. So if you look at the structure, again, remember we're
okay,
tasting structure
taste it.
and texture. We're not tasting for flavors. On the front end is the acid.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle, you'll get this boot full of fruit. And then on the finish, you get that plush and tongue
Yeah,
drying.
I get it. I'm really good at now understanding the tannin, but like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
I'm learning more of like the other ones. Like, how long did it take you to learn the different
Um,
like on those versus then first taste and then like mid? I mean, for the average
uh,
person, I'm like, I don't know.
yeah, it's it's like anything, the more you practice and just being mindful with the tasting. I mean, you can just drink wine. That's what it's meant to be for. But if you're interested in these sort of things and you think about it mindfully, the complexity is there for those that want it to be,
Yeah.
but not it's not necessary for the enjoyment of the wine.
Yeah. Cool.
I really, yeah, I really live by. So anyway, so back to Mourvedre. So that's what it does. It gives you that plushed out mid palate sort of a thing. So yeah, it's kind of cool the way the whole wine comes together. And I'm gonna drop a little Easter egg, if you will. Come July, we're actually planning currently. It's not on the calendar yet, but June or July, we're going to be doing a deconstruction dinner of not this wine, but the 2023 version, the one I just made,
Ooh.
with
Ooh.
Ponce, who's moving into the building next door to us. So it's a little Easter egg, but if anyone's interested, basically what we're doing is the three components of this wine, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. I've pulled samples of each individual component. The dinner will be
That is
paired with each component, and then the finished wine, the fourth wine, will be as you're tasting through, you pour a portion of each one in to create the fourth wine, which is the blend. And so you build the blend
so
during, yeah,
awesome. Wow. Really cool. Okay. So you're going to be coming out with more information on that. You
yeah,
guys definitely stay
yeah.
tuned. This is hot off the press. Oh, you're so you guys can get the first seat at the table because I imagine this can't be a lot of people, right? So the RSV.
we're going to be looking to do 20 people only.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Very,
Okay. So email us, DM us,
yeah, if
message.
you're interested. But we don't have a date yet or anything, but we're excited about it. The samples are pulled. So, it's an opportunity to go super deep on this kind of a discussion because, like, I mean, we're already running out of time, but like, there's so much to talk about. So why don't we do a 2-hour dinner and like put some cool food to it as well, kind of a thing.
Really
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so you'll go with the Grenache, the Syrah, and the Mourvedre. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw in there then. We also have another event coming up. I'm going to be in Paso, so you're going to see me in person if you guys want to. We're going to be doing a candle making event, which is super cool with Millennium Essence. It's going to be Friday night, April 19th, next Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. She's going to do it live. We're going to make candles live in a really cute vessel that also can be a wine glass. So once you're done with the candle, you can rinse it out, clean it, and then use it as your wine glass. And so at the tasting room, we're going to be pouring candles, decorating them with crystals or any glitter or dried flowers, things like that. I'm going to be there hosting and helping to lead it. And we're going to go through a flight of wine. It's going to be super fun. We'll have some raffles and prizes. So it's my first event. I'm super excited. So a little off topic. Check it out on our Instagram, Facebook, DM us again. We're going to post about it, send it in our email. If you're local in Paso, I'm sure you'll see it around with the chamber. The Atascadero Chamber is amazing, so we partner with them a lot. Definitely get on, buy tickets, come hang out with us. It's a really fun time. Okay, so the last thing, I know we're running out of time. We want to be mindful of everyone's time. With the Maniacal, can we go into what type of food that you would pair with this? Because that's always a question if I'm going to serve a meal or host people or even just for me, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to myself, I want to have a nice glass of wine and like, what do I do with this, and something that's like I can cook at home and not this like, you know, whole thing. Like,
Yeah, totally. So, I did pork tenderloin last week with the Syrah. Again, it would be a great pairing with this wine as well if you're looking for something a little bit lighter. I want to go vegetarian though on this wine, um, and the reason is because not a lot of people think about doing vegetarian with a red wine. Uh,
no.
and it's always like red wine and steak. Like that obviously goes. It's too obvious. Like let's be a
Yeah.
little out.
Else.
Yeah. So one of my all-time favorite things with Grenache, what grows together goes together, is anything with garlic is like awesome.
Grenache grow with garlic?
Well, I was gonna say a garlicky hummus or something like that.
Ooh, I like.
Yeah. So hummus, you're gonna get a ton of olive oil in the hummus. The fat is gonna help mellow the tannins in the wine. But for whatever reason, like the flavors of Grenache and garlic go incredibly well together.
Garlic, so that's great.
Yeah, so I love that one. And then one thing that my wife and I have done with other Grenaches from other, kind of Mediterranean areas like Sardinia or like even Spain and things like that is ratatouille, which not people think about. But you get some eggplant, you roast some, with the bell pepper even, or zucchini. It's got a little bit of tomato sauce, thyme, like all of these kind of aromatic Mediterranean kind of herbs.
Yeah.
They play off of that spice component in the Grenache really well. And then once again, if you finish with anything with olive oil, that olive oil is going to help kind of mellow out the tannins in the wine. So those are two great ones that I really am a big fan of.
So I could like host people if I had like a little French bread with like olive oil that you dip in. Or
Totally.
I have like a hummus platter, right? With some of the like vegetables or some of the pita bread or things like that. And then
Yeah. And here's the thing about hummus is that like it kind of hits every single dietary restriction that exists.
I know, right?
You're vegetarian, keto, paleo, vegan even. Like it kind of, and people have a, allergy towards garlic or something. You just don't put the garlic in. Like it's really like it's a crowd pleaser and it's delicious.
Yeah.
And it's great with this wine. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of it.
Okay. And then last thing, because I love garlic, if I wanted to cook like a meat with it, could I do like a garlic with like some sort of chicken or like a garlic? What about, I'm thinking of like a shrimp scampi? No,
Yeah,
shrimp.
shrimp is kind of a tough one. I would look once we get into our Pinot Noirs, shrimp for sure. White one. I think a shrimp scampi would be a good dish. I'm also a huge fan of like steak frite with garlic aioli.
Okay.
Like a killer one. So if you're,
Got
uh,
it.
do something with meat, like you at least do like a little aioli on the side or something like that's kind of a nice dish. So
Got it.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to tell us about this wine before we sign off?
Of course, a million things, but I can't go into all of them.
I know it recently got good scores with decanter.
Yeah.
It got 9 points with decanter. Super great. We also had it reviewed by the Drunken Cyclist. Love that.
He did a great write up. We can link that into the video notes as well. But I like the way he writes. It's a little bit more casual, more approachable, and that's how it should be. Like this. We're not trying to.
94.
What was that?
He scored it at 94.
Yeah, he's got a great palate. So like that's great. So thanks very much to both of those for the scores. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. And we'd love for you guys to try this. If you want to go back, what you can do is you can get the Syrah and the Grenache and kind of what we did, like the side by side here, or what I did on my end because I had it. You can absolutely do that. We can even put together a little like 3-pack bundle for you if you like. You can DM us again. What?
Dinner party. Do it at a dinner party. Two with the same, two different wines, same vintage. Like you can really start to pull it apart. It's pretty cool.
That's really cool. That sounds like a fun idea. So kind of something different to have people over, like playing cards and like going through the wine. That would be really fun.
Totally.
DM DM us, message us. If you guys would like to get the wine, we'll get it to you. Next week, next Feature Friday, we're going to have our next wine that will be released or coming soon shortly. And then if you guys want, you should definitely order it. This time in my email, I put that you could purchase the Maniacal, and then you could even do it along with us as we go through this if you like, or save it. We'll put it on the YouTube. Obviously, we know it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon on a Friday. Wine o'clock. It's not for everybody. But in the evening, save it. You can try it and go back and taste it and hang out with us, even recorded. And then if you guys have any questions, again, shoot us a message, email us info@cordetwinery.com, shoot it in the Facebook or the Instagram chats, and we're happy to kind of get with you or, you know, talk to Riker and answer any of your other questions. I hope that you guys loved this. We love doing this. Next week, tune in, type in some questions. We're happy to field questions. Well, Riker is happy to field questions from the group. So if you think of anything and you want to hop on and ask, definitely drop it in there and we will be sure to get those answered for you. Okay, well, I think that's a wrap. We're going to sign off. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in to Corded Winery with us. We hope that you enjoyed learning about the 2021 Maniacal right here and tasting a little bit of the Central Coast with us. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Cheers, you guys. Happy Friday.
Bye. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.